Hi, Professor. Good afternoon. Today, I'll be discussing about Microsoft OpenAI partnership in the renegotiation lens and how this partnership wanted to take the control of the AI ecosystem. This isn't just a contract negotiation at all. It's a negotiation who will control over the AI ecosystem for the next decade. And explicitly choosing a protagonist as Microsoft, I will run analysis for Mr. Satya Nadella and his team. Like I mentioned, it is not just a supplier contract who will provide the compute or the GPUs or the infrastructure. It's about the power who controls the AI. Microsoft rents the cloud, but the misses the real object of negotiation. OpenAI builds the models. There are three things contested here. First is compute, the model access, and the IP, then revenue control. Based on the ecosystem theory, if I could recall, the power occur to whoever, okay, who governs the complementary assets. It means the complementary assets becomes very important, not the technology itself. And the resource-based theory says the power over your partner shows how much their dependency. It speaks about the dependency and the equality of the control. Putting all this together, how the fight over the ecosystem, not the line items. Let us discuss. Now the parties involved. First, Microsoft, who had 13 billion invested and 25% stakes, and Azure Computer unmatched scale exclusivity and global enterprise distribution with their Outlook Microsoft 365 Copilot. Leverage capital and distribution. They had complete. Now, let us focus on OpenAI. Frontier model, leadership, and brand. It's a non-profit controlled public benefit corp growing multi-cloud alternative. Their leverage was they were leading in the model, the only player, and credible outside options. They didn't. No one had any other option for this. Here is the principle: the negotiation power usually comes from the partner, right? Not from how I argue. As OpenAI's partner is very improved, more capital, real multi-cloud option, other options like Oracle, SoftBank, Amazon were ready to invest on. And Microsoft dependency grows as it gave up the compute to the right of first refusal in October, and then the IP exclusivity. The resource dependency in real time. So around companies like Oracle, SoftBank, Amazon, Google, Nvidia, and the regulator in the three jury. Now let us understand who are the people at the table. First, from the Microsoft side, they were Satya Nadella, the chairman and CEO, set the strategy who wants a durable model. Amy Hoodie, CFO, guarding the economy, compute, and equity. Mr. Brad Smith, the vice president or vice chairman and the president, antitrust shield, and Kevin Scott, the CTO, protects the IP and the AI side. From the OpenAI side, Mr. Sam Altman, who was driving the commercialization and autonomy, Mr. Brett Tyler, who was the chairman of the non-profit foundation, and Sarah Fair, the CFO, about the margins, the revenue, and the path to IPO. Path to IPO was the most important thing for them. And Greg Brockman, the uh, president from the technical side. The other actors who were involved were Oracle and Software for Stargate Compute, NVIDIA for Silicon Supply, and other local regulatory commission. Now, let us understand the timeline and the deal term. It started in 2025, the deepened partnership of Stargate Compute built out of right of first refusal software. Then October 2025, a definitive deal, equity to IPO 2032, 250 billion Azure versus the AGI verified thing. Then in April 2026, a non-exclusive OpenAI multi-cloud 20% revenue share to Microsoft through 2030 they got. If we notice the pattern here, each round Microsoft trades a little control for something concrete, where the Microsoft has very little partner, and using the theory of prospect, they manage in the expected value term theory. If we consider the value theory, in the expected value term, it swap shrinking option near to the certain cash flow. The cash flow they took it as the power and they made it very important part. Now, position versus interest. Let us understand what was the position and the underlying interest of each person. Now, if we have the lens of um, Microsoft, deeper partnership, uh, then we have Azure Central, protect their underlying interest was protecting the investment, lock the compute, and keep the model access. Next, from the OpenAI context, it was preserve the position in the long term and broad AI access, right? Real interest is cut the single supplier dependency because Microsoft single dependence becomes a challenge in scaling. And will the multi-cloud freedom cap its liabilities and keep commercial room open for everyone? And the regulator just want to be sure like US, UK CMA, US, Microsoft doesn't have to control the complete IP and how the AI is being created, that is within the laws and within the public safety. Now, as I have selected Microsoft as my major protagonist for discussion, okay, we'll discuss more about that. Now, let me get specific from the Microsoft chief. Its objective is rank, keep the model access, secure the compute revenue flow, and protect the equity containing the regulatory risk. Its reservation points are walk away lying in the decision analysis term, and its partner genuinely decent. It's a in-house MAI models. The other labs like Anthropic and Azure monetized regardless, but not a full substitute for OpenAI frontier lead. Now, the overlays OpenAI improving partner and the zone of possible agreement. The SOPA becomes very clear. And non-exclusive interdependence, Microsoft trades exclusivity it was losing anyway, and which was carried antitrust for a cost. For a locked 250 billion Azure commitment IPO through 2032 and capped but a real revenue share, that's essential the deal they struck with. Now, why is that rational? Let us understand using two frameworks. First is expected value reasoning using decision analysis and incentive alignment using agency theory. Now, if we speak about expected value reasoning, the exclusivity we only had value while OpenAI stayed dependent. Once the OpenAI became a multi-cloud partner was credible. The probability wave, the value exclusivity collapsed, and the expected cost, the antitrust exposure, plus a lot of resentful power climbed. Meanwhile, 250 billion Azure commitment is near certain. High value cash. So you trade a low expected value for high return expected. So the second incentive alignment agency theory states that the Microsoft principle wants a lock-in. The OpenAI wants the agency autonomy. And the OpenAI's non-profit board adds a second agency layer where the mission can outrank the profit. So Microsoft has to play smart to realign the incentives through a shared infrastructure. The silicon data centers, the cybersecurity decouples between the two legal exclusivities. Now, prospect theory. If we take the lens of the prospect theory here, it comes the reference dependency. The Microsoft anchors in old exclusivity like Windows. Any erosion they feel it's felt as a loss. The loss of aversion. Losses hurt 2x of gain. So concessions were staged between Jan of 2025 till the April of 2026, not at all at once. The theory of delaying. Okay. Locks exclusivity with the primary partners and greater productivity was turned into preserved grain. Example like Microsoft also started working with Anthropic. Now, what to be compared? OpenAI's cap felt a huge change a little as a great negotiation resets a great relief. Now, trade control, cash flow, and optionalities. If we say the anchor frame strategy for them, they had to make the five moves. First, anchoring, open a 250 billion commitment and shared infrastructure, not defying the exclusivity. And second was signaling the willingness to relax exclusivity, give up the exclusivity contract which they had, and protect the true reservation value on the compute and IP duration because compute itself is going to take a lot. The issue linkage, bundle exclusivity relief, IP terms, revenue cap, Azure into one package that gives a very sequential approach. Next, that's the reason we are connecting to sequence. Settle the positive sum infrastructure first, the infrastructure contract, then contested the control and revenue terms because in AI it's all about the infrastructure. Now manage correlation, preempt the regulators, keep Azure the cheapest compared to any other cloud, AWS or GCP, and hold the equity influence likewise. This was the Microsoft's main strategy. Now, what were the counter moves that OpenAI did to overcome this? Let us go one by one. Push a full multi-cloud AWS and Google and Oracle to strengthen their partner. For this, Microsoft considered non-exclusivity, but the first access as a default access, so the pricing goes down. Whereas demanded a revenue cap in the AWS Azure environment to control the loss of aversion. In the response, Microsoft accepted a cap, but only till 2030 in exchange of 250 billion IP to 2032. Invoke the AGI clause to exit the IP obligation, but Microsoft insisted that we are not going to have a negotiation without an AGI. This was a very strong and prominent move. Now prioritize its first party apps. They wanted to prioritize, but Microsoft provided that within our Dynamic 365 we will be providing complete access so that it can be negotiated. So the negotiation went in a very counter move. Now my prediction comes that my stance here that uh, based on this cooperative dependency, the renegotiation was good but not a rupture. Both the sides favor in the continuation. Value earned value is very good. The near certain compute for till 2030 they have got, and the exclusivity is win for not an exclusive or multi-cloud is a win for IP. But whereas they have the shared liability. Loss of aversion keep its reframed as mutual gain. Each round packed from Jan 2025 to April 2026, it kept on moving with a better improvement from both the sides. 70% negotiation continued, 20% of gradual drift to multi-cloud parity, and 10% partial rupture in IP clause. We can see that Anthropic is doing that takeover. Now, why it matters overall? Let us understand the ecosystem control and sovereignty. The strategic lesson that I could learn: deals are fought over ecosystem, not contracts. This was the best example I could understand. The infrastructure controls the market of the future, especially coming from tech industry. The infrastructure is the backbone. Cooperate to create the value, compete to claim it, which very well Microsoft and Anthropic did it. In the AI, negotiation is ultimately control the future, not the past. So, far-sightedness is very important. Thank you.